In today's episode, we're going to be doing those DIY demon eyes on these headlights, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, guys. So if a lot of you guys have been following my VLAND headlight build lately, I've gone over the opening them up, kind of internal components. In today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing some DIY demon eyes on them. I bought some LEDs. I'm going to go ahead and install them in there and kind of get some customization going on these headlights. If you guys like these videos and want to get updates, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In addition to doing the demon eyes, I'm going to be potting those drivers that came with these headlights towards the end of the video. So if you want to see a timeline and kind of skip around up to this, what I'm going to go over today, just look up here in the corner. I'm going to post a little timelines of where each step is. The first mods I'm going to do with these headlights is I'm going to end up adding some demon eyes, probably some red demon eyes right here on each of the projectors. And another YouTuber had commented about adding a white LED over here that runs kind of like a demon eye when at night, and when the headlights are on, that way it looks like all three are lit, even though this one, the high beam, wouldn't be lit. It'll look like it's lit. So just for when you're looking at the car, so it looks cooler. So I'm gonna go ahead and test out some resistors and some brightness right now. So I picked up a pack of these LEDs, assorted color. These are the regular radio LEDs for the demon eyes on Amazon. I think they were like $7 or $8 for this 55 pack. And what I'm gonna do with the high beam, kind of the not the DRL, but just the glow, the nighttime glow, I'm going to use these Cree star chips. These are the ones I use for my DRLs on my depot headlight retrofit. So I'm going to rig them onto this one. The difference between the depot one and this, on the depot I'm driving it with an actual LED driver. This one I'm going to drive it with the 12 volts from the 12 volts from the car. I'll have to figure out a resistor that gives me the best brightness on this one, so it doesn't blow these LEDs. What I need to do is solder some leads onto these chips, so when I mount it here, and I have enough slack to get to this connector, this is where I'm going to get the power from. This is where the headlight power comes in and the ground for the high beams and the low beams. So I just need enough from here over to this harness. So I got this thing first star welded or soldered down. I'm gonna do some testing on my bench tester. This is actually just an old Dell computer power supply that I converted into my little test bench for 12 volts and 5 volts. So I've got a little knob here for 5, ground, and 12. And then the rest of these are 12 volts also that hang off of it. I just found this in the dumpster, on a Dell computer that was thrown out, and I just ended up using it. It's been pretty robust for a while. It's got its own short protection, so whenever I ground this thing out, it actually goes into safe mode and shuts down for like 5 minutes and then lets me turn back on so I don't blow anything. So I'm gonna test that. I did an initial calculation, and I'm gonna try like a 500 ohm resistor, a little 0.5 watt or 1 watt 5 ohm resistor, and see how that does. So that 470 ohm resistor, which is what I call the 500 resistor, it wasn't bright enough. So I'm gonna try a 10 ohm now. I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom and try a 10 ohm resistor and see how bright this baby gets. Ooh, now that is bright. Ooh, smoking. Ooh, that baby started smoking, and it looks like it actually it's cut off the camera, but it did a number on this resistor. It burnt melted it right into this plastic. It's cooled down now. It gave it a minute to cool down, but yeah, that was running too many amps through this resistor. These are only little 1/2 watt resistors, so that explains why it couldn't handle that. Yeah, for me to run that high of wattage on those LEDs, I'm gonna have to up the resistor wattage, you know, to one of those ones that we use for turn signals and all that crap. But look at that. Ooh. Next up, we're gonna try the 150 ohm resistor. .06 amps. So that's about 60 milliamps. I'm gonna stick it on here and see how it looks. Just use a little piece of double-sided tape. See how it looks with the lights out. Guess it kind of looks like it's on if you look at, as long as you're not looking at directly straight down the middle. It's got the kind of a glow to it. So the next thing we're gonna test is the Demon Eye resistors. This one's gonna be a little bit easier since these things come with resistors in them already. You just gotta hook power up to them. So I'm gonna do the red. I think that was the color I decided to go with on this. Kind of a subtle glowing demon eye. Let me turn off the lights and see how it looks in the dark. I turned off the main lights. I just have smaller overhead lights. So it does look pretty good in person. Gives you that, you know, just the subtle little look color inside. What I'm thinking about doing is I'm gonna probably end up drilling a hole. See, it fits, depending on how you get it in there, the color feels much better. I just rigged it on the other ones. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually drill a hole on top of the shroud and then just basically stick these things in. To attach the star LED to the high beam, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some 3M tape over the two solder points here, and then over on this side there's still two little contacts that might touch some metal, but it's going to be on the plastic, so it probably won't touch on that end. And then I'm going to put a bead of JB weld on the top to hold it to the shroud. And that way, that should keep it on. Demon eyes positioned in that hole I drilled. It stays nice and firmly in there, and they glow pretty nicely at different angles. When you're looking down at it, just like walking towards the car or driving, looking towards it, you can see it's a nice reflection right off the lens. Pretty sweet looking. So I was digging through all my box of headlight components, and look what I found. I found the old Depot LED driver for the DLLs off my Depots. I have two of them, this one and this one right here. They're both the same. I don't know why they had different tags at the time, but I ended up testing it out to see what it would do. And I actually went and so the first test I did, I basically just, because this is it's basically a current driver, so it sends the same current and it adjusts the voltage depending on the resistance in the line. So what I ended up doing, I tested it with driving it with including that 150 ohm resistor I had already soldered in there, and I was pulling like a 0.06 amps that they were sending to this LED. And then when I I bypassed the resistor and I wired it from here straight to the LED. This thing already has built-in resistance and everything, so it's gonna only send whatever amps it's designed to send, and then it'll adjust its volts. I ended up getting it through here, and the amps that I was measuring was 0.46, so that was what, about 8 times more amps that it was sending through to light it up. So that means I think these cobs, these star cobs, they can handle it. I mean, I'm not, they're not at risk. They're rated pretty high, so that's why they're on this aluminum heat sink. So I'm gonna run it with these things, and I also tried it on this thing, but with the resistor, it's the same, so it didn't matter. So this one, I'll probably just end up connecting straight to power to light the demon eyes. I do have some other plans with the different DRLs for this thing. I'm adding some additional DRL on this, and I will probably end up using this driver to drive those LEDs also. I'll see how that turns out, and if it turns out good, I'll end up using a relay where a regular 5-pin relay to connect it all up, so that way I use the same driver for both that high beam, accent light, and then the DRL that I'm adding. Got all the projectors remounted after I let these LED cobs and the JB weld set overnight, so it's nice and solid now. It's not going anywhere. Got it on both sides. So I'm gonna get ready to do the DLL mod for the shrouds. Get it open. It looks like not potted. So I'm gonna go ahead and pot these drivers with that thermally conductive epoxy potting mix that I use for regular HID ballast. I've got another video where I was potting a set of HID ballast, but I'm gonna use whatever leftover material I have here to do these drivers. So the mixing instructions are these. It's basically a 1-for-1 mix between the hardener and the epoxy. You let it sit for about half an hour to debubble and let the air release. And then you stir it up and then pour it onto the encapsulation surface. And cure time is actually 4 days at room temperature. So I'll just leave it at. If you guys are in a hurry and you don't have that kind of time, you could actually bake it for 149 degrees or 150 degrees for 2 hours. So I got the potting mix all nice and even. I had to heat it up a little bit just to get it to coagulate and move around. It was getting kind of hard, but yeah, it loosened right up and it formed. So I'm gonna leave this sitting out for 4 days in the garage. It's in the 80s today in Florida, so it should be fine in the garage. So about 4 days and it'll be fully hardened, and most of that shine will be gone. So I've got it, I didn't really peel, all this stuff stuck. I tried to cut it out, but it's basically stuck in there, but it doesn't really matter. It's just tape. I'm gonna end up putting the cover back on and it'll be nice and sealed now with this thermally conductive epoxy that I use for the potting. They're all screwed back together, sealed. One of the things on my previous review of the internal components, I noticed I was looking at some other older pictures from another Headlight Junkies member who had these VLANs from last year, one of the early models. I noticed that his drivers, when he took them apart, were a little different. His wire harnesses were different, and also the number of wires going in and out of his projectors were a little different. So I don't know if those were better projectors or worse projectors, because I know they've improved their quality a lot in the last year versus the version I got. In addition, the early versions that I saw, some of those guys taking apart, they said that the glue was easy and cheap, but that was actually butyl, so that's why it was so easy for them to undo the headlights versus the hours I spent on taking these apart. So so VLAND, they've been making improvements and upgrades since the early versions of these, just probably due to customer complaints and leaking. So that's probably why explains why they're using Permaseal now versus butyl. So the final cleanup I'm going to do is I'm going to end up soldering a couple of single leads onto the 3 LEDs on the back of here, and that way I have some pigtails or whatever to plug up to the relays or to whatever system I'm going to end up doing when I reassemble it. So I just got to solder some wires on there and put some heat sinks. Got them plugged up, kind of just see how they perform, especially how they look in the shroud. It looks very cool in this, with the reflection off the different chrome trim pieces. When you put everything back together, this side has got it bare open. With so much light in my garage, it's kind of hard to see. So I'm gonna put this onto the tripod and we'll turn off the lights and see how it looks. Looks pretty sick at night in the dark. Too bad I'll have these turned off when it's at nighttime though. I don't want these on when the headlights are on. But it'll look cool during the day or at dusk and early mornings when I have no headlights on with the DRLs. Hey guys, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It really helps with the growth of the channel and getting more views on these videos. I got 2 more videos that I have after this on this headlights. The next one I'm going to do is on the DRL customization I'm going to do, and then I've got the finale video with it, the reviews of the outputs and install on the car, and then we'll see how it performs on the road. And you don't want to miss that last video. I've got something special for that last video, so just don't forget to stay tuned and